Joshua. Chapter 21. Verse 1. Now the family heads of the Levites approached Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the other tribal families of Israel. Verse 2. At Shiloh in Canaan, and said to them, The Lord commanded through Moses that you give us towns to live in, with pasture lands for our livestock. Verse 3. So, as the Lord had commanded, the Israelites gave the Levites the following towns and pasture lands out of their own inheritance. Verse 4. The first lot came out for the Kohathites, according to their clans. The Levites who were descendants of Aaron the priest were allotted 13 towns from the tribes of Judah, Simeon and Benjamin. Verse 5. The rest of Kohath's descendants were allotted 10 towns from the clans of the tribes of Ephraim, Dan and half of Manasseh. Verse 6. The descendants of Gershon were allotted 13 towns from the clans of the tribes of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali and the half-tribe of Manasseh in Bashan. Verse 7. The descendants of Merari, according to their clans, received 12 towns from the tribes of Reuben, Gad and Zebulun. Verse 8. So the Israelites allotted to the Levites these towns and their pasture lands, as the Lord had commanded through Moses. Verse 9. From the tribes of Judah and Simeon they allotted the following towns by name. Verse 10. These towns were assigned to the descendants of Aaron who were from the Kohathite clans of the Levites, because the first lot fell to them. Verse 11. They gave them Kiriath Arba, that is, Hebron, with its surrounding pasture land, in the hill country of Judah. Arba was the forefather of Anak. Verse 12. But the fields and villages around the city they had given to Caleb son of Jephunneh as his possession. Verse 13. So to the descendants of Aaron the priest they gave Hebron, a city of refuge for one accused of murder. Libnah. Verse 14. Jatir. Eshtemoa. Verse 15. Holon. Debir. Verse 16. An. Jutah and Beth Shemesh, together with their pasture lands. 9 towns from these 2 tribes. Verse 17. And from the tribe of Benjamin they gave them Gibeon, Geba. Verse 18. Anathoth and Almon, together with their pasture lands. 4 towns. Verse 19. The total number of towns for the priests, the descendants of Aaron, came to 13, together with their pasture lands. Verse 20. The rest of the Kohathite clans of the Levites were allotted towns from the tribe of Ephraim. Verse 21. In the hill country of Ephraim they were given Shechem, a city of refuge for one accused of murder, and Gezer. Verse 22. Kibzaim and Beth Horon, together with their pasture lands. 4 towns. Verse 23. Also from the tribe of Dan they received Eltekeh, Gibbethon. Verse 24. Aijalon and Gath Rimmon, together with their pasture lands. 4 towns. Verse 25. From half the tribe of Manasseh they received Taanach and Gath Rimmon, together with their pasture lands. 2 towns. Verse 26. All these 10 towns and their pasture lands were given to the rest of the Kohathite clans. Verse 27. The Levite clans of the Gershonites were given, from the half-tribe of Manasseh, Golan in Bashan, a city of refuge for one accused of murder, and Be-eshterah, together with their pasture lands. 2 towns. Verse 28. From the tribe of Issachar, Kishon, Dabarath. Verse 29. Jarmuth and En-Ganim, together with their pasture lands. 4 towns. Verse 30. From the tribe of Asher, Mishal, Abdon. Verse 31. Helkath and Rehob, together with their pasture lands. 4 towns. Verse 32. From the tribe of Naphtali, Kedesh in Galilee, a city of refuge for one accused of murder. Hamath Dor and Kartan, together with their pasture lands. 3 towns. Verse 33. The total number of towns of the Gershonite clans came to 13, together with their pasture lands. Verse 34. The Merarite clans, the rest of the Levites, were given from the tribe of Zebulun, Joniam, Carter. Verse 35. Dimnah and Nahalal, together with their pasture lands. 4 towns. Verse 36. From the tribe of Reuben, Bezer, Jahaz. Verse 37. Kedemoth and Mephath, together with their pasture lands. 4 towns. Verse 38. From the tribe of Gad, Ramoth in Gilead, a city of refuge for one accused of murder. Mahanaim. Verse 39. Heshbon and Jazer, together with their pasture lands. 4 towns in all. Verse 40. The total number of towns allotted to the Merarite clans, who were the rest of the Levites, came to 12. Verse 41. The towns of the Levites in the territory held by the Israelites were 48 in all, together with their pasture lands. Verse 42. Each of these towns had pasture lands surrounding it. This was true for all these towns. Verse 43. So the Lord gave Israel all the land he had sworn to give their ancestors, and they took possession of it and settled there. Verse 44. The Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had sworn to their ancestors. Not one of their enemies withstood them. The Lord gave all their enemies into their hands. Verse 45. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled.